good. Good. I think we've got a the timber harvesting resolution or notification ordinance that we talked about last meeting, and it's not on the agenda. So if it's okay, I'll ask that we amend the agenda and put that in. Why don't we just go ahead and put it there at 3A and let it be after our approval of the minutes. I want to think. Thought about one other thing, but I don't know how to do it now.
I'd like to move to amend mine, Chairman, in order to add, the TPL walkthrough that we're gonna try to do. We need to amend it.
Any motion on that?
I'll make the motion to amend.
All in favor? All right, and then I guess everybody's had a chance to read the minutes and the corrections or additions there. Motion to approve, Dennis, and then there's a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, well, Jessica, you want to go ahead and tell us about this timber harvesting notification ordinance?
I just got copies from the other counties, Eccles, Berrien. Brooke sent me over something that she sent out whenever they revised theirs. She sent the harvesters a letter, just letting them know, that if they don't buy a permit, that there will be a fine, that the ordinance had been revised, and that's basically what she done. So I got a copy of that letter, and if that's what y'all, if that's what y'all want to do, that's probably the best way to address them, because, a lot of them don't live here in the county, so they won't see the paper.
And
So,
most all other counties have a similar ordinance, I suppose.
yes. Ours is basically the same as Eccles. I just noticed that Berrien had the surety bond that y'all had mentioned, and because you have to supply, or they have to supply a certificate of insurance. So I just added that in there. I did change the fine if they don't get the first permit, and then I changed the fine on the first offense and the second. So, but if y'all think it needs to be increased, we can, or decreased.
What is the fine?
It's $100 on the first, and I think $500 on the second. And it's
8 days per until violations, correct?
yeah.
Suzanne, you've had a
Just to
chance.
sit on the table there for 2 days so you can notify.
So we need to read it then?
You just put it on the table.
Do we have to talk about who's gonna enforce?
Yeah, I thought I saw it.
It just says the county administrator or his or her designee. So will that, we won't make that
A
decision.
lot of people were volunteering Bob last meeting. So.
Okay.
We'll So,
Yeah, I've already heard about that one.
all right, so we'll just place this over here on the table and let whoever wants to take a look at it do so.
Help you, don't time to read it and change your own.
All right, next we have advanced disposal contract renewal. Is that Mr. Steve Edwards?
Yes, sir. How you doing? Yes, sir, I'll be brief. And this is something, really, I may not want to make this decision today. I'm just kind of pitching a little bit. My name is Steve Edwards with Advanced Disposal. We purchased Veolia in November of last year. And first, we're a little bit different than Veolia. Veolia's corporate office was in Paris, France, and our corporate office is in Jacksonville, Florida, so we're not too far away. We own and operate Evergreen Landfill, because that was part of some of the things that we purchased from Veolia. And y'all are authority members, Deep South authority members. And we've been picking up Lanier County for quite some time, and I think Albert can attest to this. When we purchased Veolia, there really hadn't been a whole lot of service issues, and when there were service issues, Albert would call me and I'd jump on it and take care of it. And I think that's a big, I think, it's a big factor on your side to have, that one call does it all, and if there's a problem, you take care of it. All the waste does go into Evergreen landfill. I looked at y'all's recycling center, and y'all do a good job recycling. We haul those materials to the recycling facility, and they do get recycled. One of the things that we looked at is, we look at trying to renew our contracts earlier than waiting to the last minute, because contract renewals to us means we can keep those same employees, and we can buy newer equipment for the contracts that we service. And y'all's contract expires in, I believe it's June of 2014. And what I talked about doing is possibly getting y'all to look at renewing earlier, maybe a year in advance. And if y'all were to do that, we would forego a price increase that's scheduled in June. And that saves the citizens of unincorporated Lanier County about $6 grand a year if you combine them total. Because the increase is scheduled for, I think, June 1, and I think it's like 30 cents more a month. But we're willing to forego that in lieu of, if y'all look at giving us another 5-year extension, that's what we'd like to do. I think relationships and people make the difference. I do think our guys do a great job picking up in the worst of conditions and also in the best of conditions. And I'm just here to kind of get y'all's comments, if that's something y'all would look at doing. Again, maybe you can do this at your next meeting, but throwing it out there just to see if y'all are interested in something like that.
Certainly, I think, would be something that we all need to talk about and discuss and look at. And I know we've had a few questions from some citizens here lately about the trash, and anyway, just give them time maybe to ask us and get back with you between now and June, and then let us all do a better job, like I said, know who you're dealing with, it makes everything work better.
Yeah.
So,
And we're a short distance away. I mean, we're here in this area 5 days a week, so if any misses happen, we try to jump on pretty quick.
anybody got any questions or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had one. Under the current contract that we are under, are the citizens binded to use your service?
Yeah,
Under this
it's
contract, we can't use another company or?
Right, it's a mandatory franchise,
Okay.
is what it is.
So no-
And a lot of cities and counties do that simply because they don't want 4 or 5 different companies,
Right.
picking up trash different days of the week, tearing up county roads and that kind of thing. So. Yes, sir.
So you're talking about the trucks, those trucks, those guys driving each county, maintain roads, we've got about 130 miles of dirt road.
Mhm.
If you kind of reiterate those guys to split the ruts on these dirt roads, so when it rains, your trucks are heavy, the school buses are another issue, but they got
Probably
kids
so,
on those. About splitting the ruts on some of these dirt roads, would please. And it helped the people of the county, trying to get in out there to work.
I can do that.
Didn't you have to bring a copy of the proposed new contract?
I can, I'll bring that at the next meeting. It'll just be a simple addendum to the current contract. Your current contract allows for renewals anytime.
Right, I think it's,
So-
this is on the others.
It is, yeah, it would have our name in there, and we can put stuff in there like that about the roads.
If you don't mind, would you go ahead and send it up for
Sure.
us to be reviewed? Yes, ma'am.
On the garbage pickup, will they not pick up anything that's not in a big green can, like if we had a box of stuff that's not scattered out, just a box with, last week or so, we had a huge box and it had a couple of trash bags in it, they wouldn't pick it up.
Yeah, typically, the contract reads cart contents only, but what we can do is maybe to help you with that, we can add in this new contract. If you were to call in our office and ask for a special pickup, we'll do it.
Okay.
It just can't be, where somebody has multiple stuff outside all the time, because it's not really fair to the person who just has one cart and the other person who has one cart and 8 or 9 bags every, week. We can do something like that,
I
definitely.
think that was in the previous contract as well.
Yeah,
If
that
you needed a
was.
special pickup, you just have to call.
Oh, okay.
But of course, we may need to put something in the paper,
We can probably
whenever,
do
when
that,
we do
yeah.
this renewal of the contract, probably, advertise and let everybody know that that's available if needed. I think it says, you know, you can't come and expect that every week in the contract, but
Right, on
it
occasion,
is on
it's okay to
occasion,
do,
is what
yeah.
it says.
And we can also do stuff like, spring clean week, where everybody brings stuff to one location and tote stuff off that way. A lot of communities like that type of service, where they can bring it to one location, clean out their garage or whatever, and then we'll do that, you know, free of charge. And I'll go ahead and include that in the contract too.
Sure.
And you can rent an extra container?
Excuse me?
Are you limited to just one container, or?
For the one-time deal,
No, I mean,
for the bulk thing I was talking about?
They can get 2 trash cans at home.
Can we-
Yes, they get 2 trash cans
They
at home,
if
yes
they
ma'am.
want,
Yes,
oh, okay.
but they'll pay for the extra.
right, you gotta pay for the extra.
The same charge.
It's double the price?
No, I'll have to go back and look at the contract with that.
Well, they need to make sure you get a big container,
Double
not
price.
shrink it down to a small container neither. Make sure it's the large container.
Yeah, most of them should be 95-gallon carts,
I've seen some out there that ain't the same size, they're small.
a little bit small. Okay.
And it could be a leftover product from the previous
Veolia,
service.
yeah.
So is there a discount to get a second one, or is it gonna be double the rate?
What we can do is, working off the old contract, I don't like it where it's double the rate. I like it where it should be like $5 more. That's typically how it
Yeah.
works. That's typically our contracts with Advance, that's how it works.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and make that change too.
For an extra cart?
Yes, for the extra
I'm
cart.
paying double for it.
Mhm. Yeah, that needs to change.
I always thought that, you know, the truck was already there and they charged me a separate fuel charge. I'm
That
like,
is
hey, he's
changed.
already here.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll change that from the Veolia contract over to us.
Mr. Watson, yeah, good question.
Yeah, that's a big help.
I pay for my pickup once a year. However, during the year, a couple of times, I'll get a bill. It's not much, some $6, $7, $8, something like that. So, the answer to it is I could pay once a month and, you know, it'd be aggravated with it. But then, if I just go ahead and pay for the year and be done with it, but then here comes a bill in. Any reason for that?
You know, I'm wanting to say probably with the old Veolia billing system, they may have billed you an annual fuel surcharge and maybe some increase. But with our new billing system, you shouldn't get that $7 bill. If you pay for it once a year, that's all you should get.
And some time ago, I got one that was 3 cents. That was open.
That's bizarre.
Cause I did call them,
Definitely change that.
and,
They
they
took
said
care
they
of that?
would sort that.
The calls that we're getting to the office have been a lot less since Advance has taken over than when Veolia was there. I think they're doing a good job on it. Of course, I know the county doesn't remember the solid waste authority, we're getting a disposal rate better than any other county around.
I think
They're doing a great
And
job.
I think to Albert's point, I think it's all about the people. I've got vested interest in South Georgia, and I believe in this region, this area, and whenever y'all call, I jump on it. And that's a little different than what you had with Veolia. So I'll go back and change that $5 for the extra cart. I'll make sure our billing's good. And I'll also look at some kind of annual spring clean where we provide a bunch of dumpsters, open top containers somewhere, and people can come in and do some spring cleaning, maybe on a weekend, and do that for free. And then make sure that bulk waste, you know, call-in thing is working, or if you got a couple extra bags, we'll get it for free. So,
That's something we'll be. Anybody else got any questions? Is that something spring cleaning, y'all wanna try to, do we get it in this year as well?
Yeah, sure.
Since May ain't quite, it's not quite
Definitely,
over,
definitely
first of
we can do that.
June, maybe try to
we can do
look
that.
at that.
I'm not real sure how to address the splits, the dirt roads, but I'll talk to the operations manager and see what I can do.
Well, there's some of these roads are narrow, they can't, but some of them, they're
Yeah.
pretty much a double lane road.
Yeah, let me see
It's
what
an
I can
issue
do for you.
with taxpayers, trying to get it work. I mean, I appreciate if they could, I know
You
you
probably
got,
talking about
you got a weight issue there
when
with it.
you probably talking about when the road's freshly graded.
Yeah, that-
Probably once the ruts are there, probably ain't that big a deal, but.
Yeah, then when it
they're
starts
freshly
raining, that's
graded,
when it really,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, let me see what I can
may or
do.
may not be anything over there. so.
We can try. That's all we can do is try.
Most of the waste picked up is recycling out of the county.
Your recycling station facilities, that Mr. Stutzler showed me, all that goes to the recycling facility in Valdosta and gets sorted and separated and recycled. All the garbage goes to Evergreen Landfill, which y'all are an authority member of. And, kind of a neat little sidebar story to this is that we started a project where we're actually taking the waste and we're turning it into electricity, into power. We're gonna start powering about 2,000 homes with some of the waste. It's made from all the decomposing garbage. It's methane, and then it gets piped into some pipes and pushed out and cleaned into power. So, in essence, you can say most of your waste is recycled in one way or another. So, and we're just starting that project. So we're pretty excited about that.
Anybody else? Well, thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you.
So,
I'll
you
be
can
back
come
in
back next
June.
month.
Yes, sir. And I'll add all those things and we can go from there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Number 5 is Ms. Holly Boggs, and we'll discuss our corporate lane.
We have a petition that our residents in the community have signed. We have about 30 signatures on there. I talked to every homeowner in our community, down all the little streets, and everybody agrees that there's a safety concern about the roads and recent incidents, and they would like to try to see that road be paved. Back in 1995, they had received, well, I think the county received a DOT funding to pave the road. However, there was a homeowner who had an issue with the road pavement because when they had came and surveyed and staked it out, they had it running sideways through front yards, I think possibly through another neighbor's backyard. And instead of just paving the road as it lays, which is a really good structure, they wanted to go at these angles through all the yards. And I don't think it was that anybody had an issue giving up some of their front yard to accommodate road size. It was just the way that they were cutting and running this road. And it caused an issue with one homeowner. After that issue, the funds, we assume, had got reallocated somewhere else. So I know a lot of community members were upset. They wanted to know why the project couldn't proceed, where the funds went. They weren't given any answers. And, you know, on top of that, the property owner that had an issue, the biggest issue, because it was coming really at an angle towards her front door. She didn't want that because she has grandkids that come and she has a small yard to start. However, the adjacent property owner had offered the county part of their land. So instead of taking it on her side, they could just take it on the other side of the road, directly in front of it. But the county didn't want that, and basically they just dropped the whole community. Came, pulled up the stakes, and it was done.
And you're talking about 1995?
That was in 95.
Okay, let's skip forward and we can probably tell you why that happened. I mean, I wasn't there. Of course, none of us were there then, maybe Paul, but anyway, that was probably a CDBG grant through the state, I'm sure, what they'd probably do.
I don't know, I wasn't.
I mean, but I mean,
It could have been either a CDBG grant, or it could have been through DOT that, at that time, which you had to comply with DOT specs and all to get the funds from the state. If you didn't,
First of
then
all,
you-
the county does not lay out the roads, the state of Georgia lays them out. We have no say-so over that. DOT and the engineering firm has to do that. The county has no say-so over how the roads are laid out.
and, you know, as far as I know, that money was never set aside or used anywhere. I mean, it probably just unfortunately went away. And I know, I think Albert, you've checked in the last few years about CDGB, and it's the income, medium income of a homeowner there is too high for us to qualify for that now, and the county simply doesn't have the money to go out and pave a new road right now, unfortunately.
We were told that it got spent up on Banks Lake Point. And, you know, I know that if those people can qualify for the income level, the people in our county.
Banks Lake Point was put in, when the subdivision was put in, now the developer pays the road.
So their developer did pay their road.
That developer that did Banks Lake Point, same way with Mill Pond Plantation. The roads in Mill Pond Plantation are paved, but the developer pays the road. Same thing with Ridge Road off of Jacobs Walking, all those were paved by the
So what
developer.
can we do to get this road paved? Do we need to bring news crews in there and let them see what it kind
I
of
mean, if we had the money,
impassable it is?
we'd be paving lots of roads. I mean,
It was like I told you when I came in the other day, but there's a priority list that the county has. You need to be put on the priority list. Our corporate road is not on the priority list.
We did ask to be put on it the other day.
Huh?
We did ask.
Yes, okay, but what I'm saying, there, you'll be years down the road. Resurfacing right now is costing $100,000 a mile to resurface. Paving is costing about $200,000 a mile. The LMIG money that the state sends to the county is $150,000. That won't even pave a mile.
how much, what's the length of the road?
It's less than 2 miles.
Less than 2 miles. I mean, we'll do all we can, but we, you know,
Yeah.
we certainly look and explore options, and probably, me and Albert would try to get with DOT and give them a call and just see if there's any way to resurrect that old project. I mean,
Okay.
and see. I mean, all we can do is try. Right now, I would suspect it's probably more than $200,000 a mile to pave to do a whole job up to specs, but anyway,
That's just
we'll look
paving.
into
I mean,
it.
let's put some gravel on it in the meantime. You know, I know
We've
last
had
week one of
several
the,
school bus incidents where the buses actually went in the ditch. We've had other ones where the buses came around and a vehicle has came around and the side of the road has given and the car was pulled into the ditch.
that happened last week.
When the tornado came, the road was basically impassable. If you didn't have a four-wheel drive, you know, nobody expected it, and the people without four-wheel drives, they were getting stuck, having to be pulled out by people with four-wheel drives. They just couldn't get out of the community. The road is a mess. I know kids walk up to a 10th of a mile to get to that bus in that slick mud. I know my kids personally have slipped and fell in it. I've had to bring them home, redress them, take them late to school. So I just quit putting them on the bus, period, and started taking them every day myself.
The road, there you guys live out there.
What is it, I'm sorry?
There where you guys live in there, how long do you guys live out there?
We have lived out there 2.5 going on 3 years.
How long you lived out there, ma'am?
I just came down here April the 1st,
Okay.
and it's just hideous. I
Yeah,
just,
well, what you people got out there is you are in a bay, it is a wetland. There's water in that area pretty much all year, and there's no drainage to get out of there to go toward Banks Lake. That's the bad issue of that area out there. Of course, you're probably already aware of it. That's why if you guys get the road graded up, if it rains, it stays in the ditches, whatever, it just will not go anywhere, it's a bowl. So it's a bad area.
I guess it's the county that sends someone out to scrape that road every time it rains. Because it just ruts and it's ditches,
Yeah.
it's horrible. I mean, in the long run, we'd probably save money if we could go ahead and pave it instead of scraping it every little bit. I know one of the neighbors actually takes it upon himself to try to scrape it sometimes. But, you know, and that would be cost effective, you know, in the long run, instead of sending somebody out to scrape it all the time, just pave it. Even if we just pave one lane.
But the issue is that you're in a wetland, basically. When you got cypress trees in your backyard, you're in a mud hole. Cypress trees, you're not aware of cypress trees anyway. Those, and you got all these bays with sweet gums in them. You got there's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 areas in there that hold water all the time. And, I mean, off the road, probably 15, 20 foot, there's water standing in the bays in there. It's just a bad area.
I don't ever see water standing in anybody's yard or anything out there.
It's hard to see now because of the trees and all the greeneries came up.
Yeah.
But there is towards the front, the main owner who owns a lot of the wildlife reserve out there,
It's there.
or property.
Well, thank you
But
all.
we can explore, options or possibilities, and that's all we can do right now. But we'd be glad to do that, Howard, the DOT, and just see if there's anything out there we might take advantage of.
They need to understand DOT's gonna come here and straighten some of those curves, so drainage will be better. So DOT's not gonna come in there even if we accept it and pave the road with all those curves, they're going straight.
The bottom is, if we do get fortunate enough to find money, help us with neighbors and
Okay.
convince them to, I mean, we're way down the road from needing that, but we're gonna need someone to, with cooperation, to probably get that road straightened out.
Carol, she said 1, but it was 4 at that time, it was like 4.
You know, I don't see why, I don't know, whoever's looking at the excavation on it and straightening it, you can't expect property owners to let you come right up to their front porch. I mean, you're expecting us to drive it like it is now with curves, so DOT needs to look at, you're not gonna be able to save a few dollars by, I assume that's the reason they wanna straighten it a lot too, is because it'll save money instead of, but, if you expect us to travel it like it is now, and you expect our kids to ride on the bus with it in curves, then they're gonna have to give a little too, so. As far as the straightening and taking
That'd be DOT, and they're gonna, they're not gonna give too much, but I'm sure they'll do all they can to cooperate if we get that far down the road, so. Okay, anybody else on our report before we move on? All right, Gary, you wanna start off our department report with the fire?
Fire department for April, total calls in April were 14. The county had 9 of the 14, and only 3 of the 9 paid. I put the county's salary for the month at $1,120. No vehicle repairs to date since last month. Things are ongoing. The rain has held me up on the station down south. Getting the trees out, it's kind of boggy now, so the guy can't get in there, so, again, we don't have money.
We're waiting on the lease, right?
I
Well,
sent
yeah.
the list to Pat and Seed, I've not heard anything from her.
Right, yeah, I got for her and gave her paperwork she needed.
All right.
I happened to have it with me last one. But anyhow, I mean, we hadn't moved any, nothing's moved forward, the tree removal or anything because of the water. So we're just kind of holding on that, and the money's not there anyway. I don't remember if I told y'all about the tower, but the guy come back and told me you're gonna spend $50,000-$60,000 on that tower to raise it that we've been talking about. Now, I have found out that what may help, the school system, they're on that tower also, and they got problems with their radio with the buses. So they said they could probably pitch in to help get that tower up. So if y'all decide to go that route, with my budget and whatever,
Is that,
the school could probably back up some of the funding of it.
I thought there might be a cheaper route with the cell tower and placing something up there on one of the cell towers, is that?
Well, you always got that option, but you look at, the only thing I look at, when 911 was set up, we used landlines to communicate. Like they keyed a radio here, it shot through a landline and went here and yada, yada, yada. Well, the 911 was set up to get away with that because you're talking about paying for a landline from now on. And that's a fee from now on. So they decided to go airwaves, which is free, you know. So if you go to cell towers, then of course you're back to paying a lease on a cell tower from now on. I mean, you're back to an expense that you're gonna have forever. This is, raising the tower is a one-time expense, where renting space is a forever expense. So, you know, that's what I look at. I mean,
Of course, if that cost is the same over 100 years,
well, I
it's
mean,
easier to
of course,
absorb.
you gotta weigh the difference.
I mean,
There's 2 or 3 options with the tower. Now, this option he's telling us is going out there to the land that we already own, where the old dump was, and using 4 acres of that land to set a tower, with 350 foot. But I told him, I've done measured it and checked it from the specs. He told me a 350 foot tower can be put down here at the fire station. All we gotta do is move it back 70 feet from where it's at. And there's enough room to guide right there. I mean, and it'll be a lot cheaper. You don't have to go out there and build it, put a building out there, put equipment in. Gotta have power run to it, it's gotta have air conditioning put in it, because that equipment has to be kept cool and stuff like that. Fire station's already set up, everything's there, backup generator's there, air conditioning's there. The system's already there and working. All you want to do is get the tower a little higher so you talk to it. You know, so, I mean, that's a cheaper option than the I'm sure than the 60,000. But I'm leaving this in y'all's court. Basically, Stockton's the only one having much trouble talking. Now, I've been down there, like I said before, all the way to the county line and talked back on a handheld radio. Weather does have, you know, a problem with that, but I've been down there in the rain and did it, and it worked. But it's not gonna always work all the time. It's gonna depend on how you hold the radio, which direction you hold it, which direction you're facing when you're talking. The fire trucks are not having any trouble talking. You can talk back to the mobile. It's the handhelds that are a problem. But I'll leave this in y'all's court. If y'all decide y'all want to spend the money and move forward on it, I'll keep working on it, helping you whatever I do.
You estimate that to be $60,000?
He said if you're gonna spend 50 to 60,000 to put up a 350 foot tower. The problem is the tower we have is not big enough to be raised any higher. It won't support its own weight. It has to be a bigger tower, bigger sections. So you're needing a complete new tower to go taller. You can't just extend the one we have another 150 feet.
Would you mind, would you check with the RC and just see? We talked about calling him anyway about any other grants that might be out there. So we call them and see if there's anything out there that might help us.
Now, I will bring up, Randy talked to GEMA. GEMA, now, I've done talking to the radio man too. GEMA, they said the money's available for repeaters. But they're under my radio man said they're thinking about Atlanta and not rural. What works in Atlanta don't work in rural. They talked to him like it would take $2,000 or $3,000 per station to set up a repeater. The man who does all the communications for us, 911 and everybody, he says no.
Now, who is that?
That's RCE Communications.
RCE.
He says to go repeater each station, he told me what all would have to be set up, all the licenses that would have to be gotten first. And then each one would have to be set up and then connected to an internet service to make it work. And in other words, you went through kind of a quick spiel of what it would take. And he says, you want to do all that and make it work down here in rural Georgia, it's going to cost you $500,000.
Let me give my whole report, mine.
Yeah.
That's part of it, but that's not all of it in a nutshell.
But anyhow, they talked like the money from GEMA was available, but they won't spend that. But he said, the repeaters at each station definitely won't do, you can't do that for $2,000 or $3,000.
We'll let Albert check on that with RC and also, if you will, we can explore the repeater thing on the cell tower. We just need to find out how much that would cost.
Well, you need to find out first what your lease will be.
Right.
And then you got the expense of the repeater. Then you got to get another license for it. I mean, it's not just go down there and put up a thing and go to work. First, you got to be licensed for it and set up another repeater, and then you got to make it work in conjunction with the one you have. In other words, I don't know about all that, but what little bit I've talked to the radio man, I mean, it's not just as simple as go down there and
The
put it
tower,
up and start talking.
Harold, what they put on out there now for the agriculture guys.
Yeah, I put a GPS,
And how high is that?
About 100
yeah, yeah.
Which one, the one at 911 tower? I think that tower at 911 is 350, or 400 feet.
It ain't that
So
high.
it's either three, same thing we're going for, 350 to 400 feet, something like that.
Is there any way we could use that tower to help?
Well, I mean, their tower talks to our tower.
Just before I start,
Anytime they
before
key
can
up.
do it.
When we key up, we talk, our tower goes to them, they key up, it comes back, our tower talks to us. That's how it works. And it's coming directly off their tower. Okay?
Thank you, sir. And Bob, you got some good points.
Yeah, so we got, guys started mowing right of ways about a week and a half ago. Still continue building the road, we've been washed out from the rains we've had and trying to get these ditches pulled where they can pull them. Pretty much that, equipment's still up and going, no problems with any of those. I have got 3 pieces of surplus equipment need to try to get rid of it. We just no longer in commission out there. We don't use, if at all possible, run it in the paper.
Yeah, you got a list of that equipment, or you read it off to us?
Yeah, I got it, it's a 95 Ford van that the detention center used. It's out of commission. Each of them, we got 95 Ford that we need to get rid of. And we got a Durapacker out there and a 3,000 gallon tank that goes with it that they use for asphalt patches. Whenever they use it, it hadn't been used in, I guess, about 8 years, before I got here. It's just sitting there, and I think we can get some fairly good money for that one. Franked it up, it's had a few issues on it that needs to be done, but it's too big for what we use, so we just use a coal patch. This is like not a major recap of highways, but it's a pretty good sized unit. Ours are normally a small issue, but this was just like a handheld hose type deal. You put it behind the truck, the tanker mixes it up, the tank goes right up, then you blend it together in a Durapacker out on site. And like I said, it hadn't been used, I don't think, about 8 years. No, not about 8 years.
And the dump truck is not working.
Dump truck's not working, the van's not working. They're just out of commission.
So you want us to declare that surplus?
Surplus, and get rid of those, and advertise in the paper a couple of weeks, whatever. And then take the money, I guess, put it back, very part of the budget, or give it to them, see where we're gonna go with it.
Is there anybody got any questions or a motion to declare that stuff surplus?
Declare it surplus, but we need to put it on that website too, that the state has for the surplus equipment.
It's gonna certainly take something like to get rid of that coal patch.
Yeah.
It's probably.
Cause we actually got better prices on it than we did on the last, advertisement in the paper.
Yeah.
I mean, we can still run it in the paper here too, but
Well,
on that website. Yeah.
What is the name of that website? Is it good? The name of the website. You weren't gonna offer it to the local public. Can the local public go on the website?
No,
Yeah,
put it in the
right.
paper as well.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna do both.
so you're gonna do seal, bid, and the website? Is that right?
Yes, my newspaper and we'll put it on the website.
All right, motion for that? Second. All in favor? Randy, you back?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
EMS?
All right, I stepped out and called Eddie Sinkville, and he's gonna call me on this radio in just a second. But the hospital has a grant given to us for communications, and it's set up similar to the repeaters that we're talking about. There is grants available through FEMA to help us with communications. I've been talking with Ashley Ty, Rounds County GMA Director.
It's FEMA or GMA?
GMA, I'm sorry, I said the wrong word, it's GMA, Georgia. And he was helping me, first we've got to come up with what we want, what's going to work for us, and I have no clue on how radios work. So that's where they're gonna get with RCE, since we're already using their equipment to see what would work. I didn't wanna do anything without telling you where I was going first and get your approval, is yes, let's start looking at this. And then get with Gary to make sure it works with our fire department. Because going away from home, if we come up with a system that don't work, and then if the school buses work, they're on the same type system we're on too. That ain't even that much better for us to get the grant. The more things we can show is gonna use these radios, the easier it is to get a grant. And if you put school buses on it, fire trucks on it, and ambulances on it, I think we've got a pretty good chance of making it happen. And Albert, you know the letters, I could start throwing, like you said, CB, whatever, a while ago. They throw all these letters at you and they talk so fast, and I'm still new at the GMA part. There's different ways and different codes and different sections that you can word it. And Mr. Ashley said he'd help me all we could. Ashley Lowndes is not in our region, but building bridges and these conferences we're going to, since we're right there in their back door, they said that would be acceptable for him to help me and we'll make this work. So Gary was trying to explain one option and I have no clue. You know, rural works or whatever. I can match this button right here and I can talk to Tifton. Just as clear as we're talking. Or I can talk to SGMC, or I can talk to Turner. Any hospital in our region, I can match this button and talk to them. Our repeater's set at the hospital. It goes from our repeater at the hospital through internet to whatever I'm talking to. I have no clue how it works. Mr. Eddie's on an air evac landing right now, so I don't want to, he's going to call me in a few minutes. I don't want to mess up the helicopter that's landing to do a demonstration. But while we're waiting, let me turn it up so he does call me, I can hear it. I'll go ahead with the EMS report. Okay. On EMS, we did 108 calls for April. 67 was in the city limits of Lakeland, 8 in Teeterville, 11 Mud Creek, 7 West Side, 11 in Stockton. And we went to mutual aid calls for Lowndes, Clinch, and Berrien. We called 4 assistants 6 times this month. 3 of the times we handled ourselves with our own folks now. And we had to use outside help 3 times. We transported a total of 79 patients, 19 to Lewis Smith and 50 to South Georgia. The rest scattered out throughout. We assisted 17 people at home without having to transport them. We did 1 standby and had 3 refusals and 6 cancellations. I don't think we have that, if you know what I'm talking. Everything is running well on our EMT class that we're going now. I did get the money from the grant and I gave it to Donna. Did you get the email on the breakdown? Okay. The grant was broken down on how to spend the money, and we have to spend it the way they told us to spend it. So, grant paid $70 per student on the books. That left the students owing $40 a piece for the books, and we're going to probably do it the same way we've been doing. The county's been buying the books for the firefighters. The hospital's been buying the books for the hospital employees. I've got 3 people. I could not limit this grant. If you wanted to come, since there was a state grant, I had to let you in. I've got 3 students that are not backed by anybody, so they're paying for their own books. The other expenses is none as far as paying to come to the class. I don't charge anybody anything. If they're coming to help us by learning to be an EMT and they're willing to pay the $40 for what's left on the book, you know, it's like, thank you. Any other expense, such as gauze and teaching supplies and stuff, I handle that. But it's running good. We lacked about 3 months being through. The grant that we have, the class coming for June 1st and 2nd, we throw letters at you, but one of them is called an ASPR grant and one's a Trauma Commission grant. Of course, I got their own grant. Mine was the ASPR grant, which means students can't come to this class. The class is full. It has to be acting EMTs or acting professionals that's already licensed to come to this class. So it filled up really quick once we put it out. I've got folks coming from South Carolina, area vac medics, and all over the state coming to Lakeland for education. And again, that's building bridges with these educators. I go to Forsyth and teach, or wherever they want me to go. And in turn, they're coming to Lakeland, Georgia to teach a class. And people are like, how did you do that? It's just getting out and talking, and I go to them first, and then when I want help, they come to me. It's working really well. This is the first of this class, but we're gonna have several. The school system is letting us use the schools, the rooms that we're using to teach in, as long as it's on the weekends. You know, we can't do it during the week when they're there. It's too much liability on the school to have extra people in the building. So it's all working really well. It's anything else I could do for y'all, would love to be able to. The building the bridges stage is where I'm at right now. We're going to people that have done things and it has worked for them. We'll find out how they did it, how it would work for us, and try to bring it back. And some things work for Lanier County, some don't. Like Gary's talking about the repeaters, I don't know that it works in Atlanta and don't work in Lakeland. And if it does, I'm sorry, but it's just an idea. We haven't spent any money. So that's kind of where we're at. Any questions?
Randy, how many have you got in the EMT class now?
There's 11. We started with 13. The grant was for 13.
Yeah.
I can't do a background check, but out of courtesy, I asked, because if you have a felon, you can't be licensed as an EMT. I'll still teach you, I'll still training, I'll do everything I can, and the grant will still pay for you. So I think I had one to decide not to pursue it and backed out, and then I've had two others that during the class they decided I was sitting for me and backed out. So we're still rolling, I think, with 10. I said 11, but I had one more back out last week.
How many was in the previous class that ran through?
We started out with 25. And when we got through with the EMT part, I'm giving you estimates, I don't remember exactly. I think we ended up with 10 or 12 that finished the EMT part. And then we went into advanced EMT part. I had 4 finish that. 2 of them was from Clinch County. The 2 from Clinch County, one has finished everything. He is good to go with them, and the other one's still working on his. It's a long process when you get through with the class, then you've got to start doing your state tests. And some have just jumped right in it and passed it and rolling. Other ones are kind of scared of it and backing. The mayor made us an offer of any city person that lives in the city limits. Some people have trouble paying for this license fee. He offered to pay for the license fee for any city resident. If they got through my class and they're ready to test, that he would help do that. And I'm saying the mayor, I'm sure it's the city council, but he's the one that talked with me. And y'all have done more than your share. I'm not trying to compare one group to another. Y'all have supported this wholeheartedly and done well above and beyond what anybody could expect. And thank you for, I just wanted to report back to you where your money is going and what it has made.
Certainly appreciate you, Randy, because I mean, without your classes, we wouldn't be able to do 3 out of 6 mutual aids. You know,
This is Tim Regional.
It's Lewis Smith, go ahead, Tiff.
This is,
Radio check.
You're loud and clear, I appreciate it. So that's talking to
Loud and
Tiff.
clear, Officer Randy, thanks.
this is what he mentioned, internet service. So if you went this route, works perfect, as you can tell. But you're looking at putting internet service in every fire station.
That might be way more than an
You've got
expense.
that
than-
monthly expense now of internet phone service in every fire station. That's 5 stations. So, well, no, the Lakeland station already had, because my office is literally 4 more stations having set up phone and internet service. And then set this system up to work, which you can tell it's working perfectly.
You got any idea what that system is?
I don't. That's the thing. Lanier County, I agree with Gary. Over the airways is free. It's not costing us a penny once we buy it. This system costs you every day, whether you use it or whether you don't. I mean, that's a cost. And all I'm trying to do is give you the options. I'm not gonna try to sell you one way or the other.
But it's hard for us to compare something if we don't know.
Right.
So we keep talking about these same issues every month. We need to nail it down.
Talking about leasing the tower now, you know the sheriff is on the cell tower out here, so y'all should have you know what he's paying a month for that. That should give you an expense right there.
Why don't we try to get Scott with RCE to come in and let's all sit down and discuss the options?
He said this Scott
Do it
with
that
this
way.
system is Scott with Hastings. And so it's just so you don't get
Yeah.
confused with Scott's. We deal with Scott with RCE.
Yeah.
And this has just happened to be a Motorola system, but I'm sure he can come up with the, I didn't want you to ask that Scott about this
No,
radio.
no,
but I'm just gonna say, yeah.
Well, all right, did we ever, going back here, you know, how y'all are still here talking, about the, work session for firemen and all that, we could do that, get these people here about the towers and do that all on the same day if y'all want to. We just try to,
Whatever y'all
you know,
want.
just tell us when,
I'm game.
we really, I think we said last meeting we could next 45 days, so we,
Y'all having a work session coming up or anything?
no, I mean, we said, you tell us when and we set it up for that time.
I'll get with Scott and find out a date he can come talk to you.
All right, that'd be great.
I'm gonna be going for the rest of this week. It's my second week of the leadership class, it'll be in Macon. I'll be out of pocket again till Friday afternoon. Just to kind of give you a heads up of where I'm gonna be. If you call me, I can call you back when I get out of class.
Thank you. Well, if we get something going, anybody have any more questions?
I just, on that same meeting, we were supposed to get the guy from the ISO and the Banks Lake Point HOA wanted to come and participate. I thought we was we waiting on Gary for that, or we need
Well, why don't we, when Gary, if he gets us a time, Albert, you help coordinate all that with you and make sure that we don't leave anything out if you don't want to.
Whenever you said that with ISO, I was glad you said that, because I was gonna ask if we could just get a plan started with people like that, with ISO. What can we spend the least money in Lanier County on that's gonna do us the best, instead of trying to put out this little fire here and this little fire here? Let folks like ISO and the Ashley Ty with GEMA come and meet with us, and what can we do the best for the least that's gonna help everybody?
That's right.
You was talking about the fire truck for that, and maybe just putting a 10,000 gallon tank at Banks Lake Point would help. You know, that's the problem, we don't have water.
Well, they spoke to somebody, I thought, with the ISO and said that that would help lower their rates, and then Gary says, no, that it won't, but,
And that's the problem with government. I can talk to one group and they give me all this information, and Gary can talk with a different group and they're under a different, you get them like you're saying, everybody's sitting at the table together, let's hatch this out. It works in other places.
is it just one ISO guy, or is it multiple ones?
We think ISO would be ISO.
I've been talking to Ken Gooden out of Jackson, and I talked to ISO.
All right, so we're just kind of waiting for a date to set up to meet with the firemen, fire departments, and now Tower.
Yeah, I think we can
Radio
do that
system.
on the same day, probably. Try to do it at 5:30 or 6 one afternoon, whenever we get a date. Greg, you got something?
Randy, question for you. People going through the EMT courses, do y'all have another EMR class set up for, like we did 2 years ago?
No.
Or is that out there, possibility?
I've been teaching steady for 3 years, I'm gonna take a break.
Oh, no, I just didn't know
When I get
if
through
that
this
was
EMT
something that's.
class, I'm gonna quit for a little while. But in service for the fire departments, to keep up what we got, I'm gonna keep rolling and keep working with those. So, something that Gary's gonna try to get with Gary on.
Scott said you make the time, he'll be here. If y'all having a work session at 6 o'clock one night or something, just let him know.
I think we're just gonna let it be for that particular instance, or, that reason, so, I don't want to pick a date.
I'm looking on. wanna try and do it this month or next month?
I really don't care myself, I'm like Scott, y'all make the date, I'll be here.
Well, probably need to go ahead and do it before budget stuff.
There's more of y'all to satisfy than just me and Scott. I mean, getting all y'all together.
We're gonna be gone next Tuesday, next Thursday's the 23rd, or the following Thursday is the 30th.
You know, if you're thinking for budget first, probably better go and do it 23rd, yeah, 'cause
Y'all gonna get back out here?
what, is that 5:30?
We'll do 6 o'clock.
You wanna say 5:30, that way we can go ahead and kinda get things started, and then, that way give people, I mean, there won't be a lot going on when folks can't get here till 6, so kinda get everybody here, and we can start talking about the communication part of it, or whatever, and then,
23rd at 5:30, so we need to get the ISO guy here, and let all of our final,
What is,
pending, we'll set that date for the 23rd.
would there be any benefit if we invite the city council to come, and would there be
Who's that?
need? I mean,
The city?
of course, wherever, anybody's welcome, I'm just
Right.
asking, is
Well, I
there
mean,
any?
as far as our communication, the police department is on our tower, but the police department doesn't operate outside the city, so they don't have an issue. You know, with communications there, they talk fine. So the only one an issue would be fire, EMS, and, school bus.
Okay. We just didn't wanna leave them out if they needed.
So you might wanna get the school down there, somebody at the school. I talked to Tony at the school, and he said, yeah, and he said, if y'all need some money to help, let me know, so I'm gonna get with Tony.
All right, I'll give him a call.
You said that was the 23rd, you gonna set that up?
5:30.
At 5:30.
For our, we call him ISO guy.
I've got his number.
Alex, whenever he was asking about the first responder class, I was saying I was gonna take a break from teaching now. I want to roll into CERT. That's get the community's involvement started. That's a GEMA project where each community can take care of themselves in a disaster.
Right, I mean,
So I
that's
was
what we
gonna say
talked
when
to the lady in Berrien County and
Right,
stuff.
I didn't want you to think that that has stopped. I'm just saying that I wanna kind of focus into that a little bit after this EMT class I'm going to now.
Thank you guys. Anybody else want to move on? Parks and Recreation, I don't know, Mr. Norwood, I don't think I saw him. I see Keith with Parks and Rec. Board. Okay, Keith, come on up.
He prepared a statement he wanted me to give on his behalf, I guess. He said that the activities at the recreation department for April were t-ball, baseball, and softball for various ages, and also had ballet for youth and Zumba for all ages. That was the statement he prepared for me. He is busy getting filled. This is the last week of the regular season for spring sports. As far as the park board, I'd like to give you, I've given y'all a letter, but before I get into that, I want to, Ms. Thornberry, our secretary, give me some information a little earlier that I'm proud of. We're right now, as of April 15th, we're 22.22% under what we should be projected budgeted for this time.
Good job. We did look at that, and we really appreciate that. And now that's taken a lot of work on the board's end, and I'm sure with the park director's cooperation, so we thank y'all for that very much. Every dollar saved is a dollar saved.
As a citizen, I do too.
That's right.
Not as a fireman, but as a citizen.
Then I gave Mr. Bender a letter earlier, but I wanted each of you to kind of get a chance to read over, get your thoughts, and see if we can.
While y'all waiting on that, are y'all still having a sewer problem?
I have not been contacted about that since our
I
last.
brought it up to the city council.
Right.
They were aware of it. I don't know if they've done anything to try to correct it.
We haven't had that issue that I'm aware of. Anybody?
If they still work. It was probably just a coincidence. Probably had some stoppage.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the gravity system was still in place, it hadn't been changed.
Right.
So it shouldn't have
Now,
affected you, you know.
the school, their season ended, so that could have an effect on it, because they're not using the restrooms on that end of the park, and that was the end that was backing up. But,
Okay.
you know, everything from the other end has to come through there, so that could happen.
You'll see there in just a minute to read that. No, that's
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure. I might say, figured out, he's got something in this.
You want to just read that recommendation so everybody here can hear, Keith?
Okay. What we have, this park board is requesting to the board of commissioners is, the Lanier County Parks and Recreation Board has recently researched the possibility of relocating the asphalt basketball courts that are at the park. During this process, it became apparent that this would be a very expensive investment for the park and for the county. The Parks and Recreation Board would like for the board of commissioners to accept our recommendation to remove the basketball court from the park. And we would like to cite the following reasons. We've had numerous complaints by city and county residents of foul and inappropriate language in an area that's designed for children. Number two would be there's liability placed on the park and the county by the use of the court. The basketball court is not used by registered park participants. And when I say registered park participants, if you participate in a sport at the park, baseball, softball, football, basketball, children sign up for those particular sports. When they sign up, there is a waiver on that form that they can sign and say, we have our own insurance, we do not hold the park liable for any insurance, any accidents or anything related to anything that happens while we're conducting activities at the park and rec. It's totally on the responsibility of the parents or the guardian. So by them not being a registered, or anybody using that park, that basketball court, not being a registered park participant, then any accident coverage, there's no waiver, they've not signed a waiver. Registered basketball participants have full use of the primary school gym. So anytime there is a basketball season where you sign up for, you use the primary gym. Third reason would be the expense of relocation has been estimated at $10,000 plus. And cite an example of precedence in the matter would be that the tennis courts that were formerly at the recreation park have been totally deleted. There's no longer any tennis nets there, they're now baseball, batting cages. And future use of property that where the court's at, so that everybody's aware of what would go there, would be a proposed new baseball and softball field to be used for either sport.
I guess, and then one question that jumped out at me would be the liability part there, since they're not the participants of the court, aren't registered through the park. How does that play, or does that factor in to get this situation?
Well, if they pushed it, they could hold it county.
That's what I'm afraid of. I mean, I know this is always a matter that's come up a lot in the past. Of course, now there is a need for that other field, of course. If you've been down there, the park's busting at the seams. But
We've had several rainouts this year. Before last, it rained every day, or every other day. So not having another field, we couldn't, it's tough to reschedule any of those games, so that's what needs to be done. We could put, a field will give you, doing the math, a field will give you, in the time period we use, 100 extra games per year that you could add into it.
Anybody have question or comment?
To remove our liability, why don't we just go ahead and remove the basketball court since it doesn't have anything to do with the park and rec to start with?
That's what we're asking.
And then, hold off on the other until Industrial Authority gets back with us about their proposals that they made last week.
Is that, no?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
those basketball goals down there before the baseball court was. We never had an incident on the basketball court that charged the county anything. Just be talking about it since 1972. And more people play basketball than they do softball and baseball. And my problem is, we have probably 7% of black kids down there playing baseball and softball. And 95% of the guys playing basketball. So what we gonna do? The 95% we gonna throw them away, don't play anything down there. We just have to talk to them. You don't even buy nets for the basketball court. But we wanna throw it away, and you got a lot of participants down there. Every day you go down there, rain, shine, you're gonna see somebody playing basketball. But they're not on the corner, breaking into nobody's houses. They are playing basketball. So what we want to do, put them back on the street corner, put them on the road, put them in somebody's backyard. The other day I was playing a game and they run up and down there and they went and broke in a fence. And I don't know the kids. And they broke in a fence on Talley Street just to play basketball. So we got an art facility for them to play. We done put them away from the original place where we told them about putting it there now. Put it in the tennis court, we put them away from there, then we put it over there in the back of nobody yet. So all of a sudden we put baseball field over there. Now we're gonna move them again. And now you saying, I don't know what we're gonna do with them, they don't need to be playing down there. We're not under the guidelines of the recreation. And they ain't had no problem with them.
Well, the incident though you're talking about, I mean, just so everybody knows that, that day you told me that the police were called to the park.
Mr. Norwood, park director, called for the police.
No matter who.
I know, but
Well, just the incident, we just explained the incident. What happened, every day that's a game day at the park, he locks the park on all the gates. And he doesn't let anyone in, no matter what you're coming for. But people who come to play baseball or softball or t-ball or whatnot are not allowed in the park until 5:30. The gate has to be hit. Sometimes he don't get that done, and we've talked to him about that, but he's been instructed that at least by 5:30, he's got to let everybody in the park. So that particular day, he asked those guys to wait till 5:30, but they would have to, because of policy, they would have to pay an admission fee. Because anybody off the street can come up and say, I'm here to play basketball, not here to watch a softball game. So, you know, we're charging a gate fee. On the days we charge a gate fee, no matter what you come in the park for, you got to pay the $2 entry fee. So they jumped the fence. So he called the city police. They came. They asked them to leave until the park opened and pay the $2 entry fee. They chose not to pay the fee, so I guess that's when they left and went to the other location. That's how they explained that incident. Nobody was, forcing them to leave on that.
I mean, I recognize that the basketball courts have been at the park for a long time. They've been used by a lot of people, and it is important to many people in the community. I would suggest maybe we just table this particular event till next month and just, let's all of us talk, let's invite the city. You know, if we're talking about relocating, then, I mean, everybody lives in the county, we know that, but also the city used to help with the park, and, you know, if we're going, we need to get everybody back on board. And if that decision is to be made, we should get some, I think, maybe input or recommendation, or hopefully if we move forward and relocate it, or whether we don't. I mean, we need some input from everybody, not just, I think, jump up here and make a decision today. Suzanne, I mean, I know there's a liability issue looming a little bit, but I just think it is a big decision to be made, and, or, y'all tell me if I'm wrong there, please.
Mr. Chairman, we also got a complaint last week on the park
And that was,
about with the basketball court. So a young child, I believe, had a situation that was not court, picked up something.
The only thing we do is fence all the way around it, and try to pay the fee like everybody else who get into the park, but then, that would have to be a structure, you know what I mean?
And it's definitely nothing to do with any certain group of people. There's people of all parts of town come there and play basketball. But it's adults and it's not children. And the recreation program, I guess I may be looking at it wrong. I look at the recreation program as something we provide for the children, not for adults per se. And when the children participate in the park, they pay an entry fee and they register and sign all the necessary agreements.
Gary, you had.
Did I hear him mention something about the school was available? What was that?
During the winter months, beginning around December, we offer a basketball league for children. And the basketball league, they sign up and just like you would for any other sport. Fall is football and soccer. Spring is baseball, softball, t-ball. Well, the people who sign up for basketball have full use of the gym. They practice there, they play all their games there.
Okay. So are you saying the people that use these courts, or some of them are not children, they're
No,
adult age?
children could play there, but it's not registered through the park.
Is it more like 19, 20, 21 years? No,
Majority of the people
not in
playing are-
school, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the majority of it's usually young men that have just graduated high school, or maybe still in high school. But there's not a league that's going on.
So basically, basically boiled down to a public court.
That's right.
It ain't got nothing to do with our park rec, so it's just a public basketball court for anybody that wants to come play basketball.
Right.
That's what you're
That's
saying.
kind of the way we viewed it.
Right. It could be out in the middle of the street.
Right.
It's a public court.
Right.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay.
But I would like to say this, the person needs to relocate. Now, I mentioned earlier where our budget is. If there's any, if the plan later, if it comes up to relocate it, we'd like to do that as soon as possible and try to do that within this budget. So that there is funding to have it moved.
Well, I mean, like, I think you said earlier, there's only a week left of the season, and so.
Well, there's a week left of the regular season, and then all-stars for baseball and softball and all age groups will start. You'll have practices, but some of the older age groups, this week, they had a lot of rainouts, and they're gonna be given the option to play out. I'll say this week, we're trying to get done before school gets out. But some of the older age groups are gonna be given the option to continue
I
playing.
mean, I certainly recognize that area is needed because the park is just busting at the seams. But I just think we need to make sure we handle it appropriately and whatever. We give us time to get some input from different ones and how to handle it, because it's been a looming question or problem at the park year after year, because you have profanity, the police are called down there to assist in clearing that basketball court every so often. It's just something we need to make sure we handle appropriately. And of course, anybody else, please, y'all, give your comments or thoughts or questions while Keith's here.
I would like to, as just being on the park board, I agree with Mr. Parker, we don't need to take from the kids, but we as a park board feel like that it's not kids that's benefiting from those basketball goals. It's not our youth in Lanier County that's getting the benefits of those goals. And we as a park board don't want to completely just get rid of them. We were just wanting to move them to stop the profanity, because that's not good for our kids in Lanier County either. So as a park board, we're not asking to just completely get rid of them or not. We're just asking to move them away to help benefit the rest of the kids in the county. So, I mean, I just wanted, I do agree that, I don't think we just need to completely get rid of them, and as a park board, that was never the case.
Suzanne, on liability, I mean, they're at the park now. I'm just asking, how would it change, or does it change? Probably does not. If the courts were moved to another area I mean, it has to be an area owned by the city or the county or right now, the property development authority leased to the county. Liability still follows wherever it goes. It's there now, and when you move them, it's there again. Is there a way to fix that?
The only way you're gonna fix it is make the park system fence it in and charge them like you do everybody else, and make them sign the waivers like you do everybody else. If that's the direction you want to go.
Right, so that would be the other option.
In other words, the sign up there saying, place your own list, if you're not.
Like the other people participate in park, and they've got to go by the rules, no profanity, no drugs. They have some teeth to make them stop the foul language or anything else that's going on down there.
I'll comment this from a liability point of view though,
Then we
if that
should-
sign is up there, does it have any cloud or not?
Yeah, when they sign the waiver, that'd be the county's defense, if they are sued like with any other case.
Anybody else? I mean, y'all, we can, I just think,
I don't think we can go on today.
I think it was just, I mean, the issue's been there for years, and I think we have kind of, you just asked us to consider it today. I think we should definitely try to have an answer at the next meeting, but, and that way, you would have, room or time in the budget this year if the money would be needed to move the courts or whatever decision might be made at that time. I'm just saying, I think 30 days or something like that, and if y'all want to, we need to meet, talk about this with the park board or about the city, or is this something you want to do individually? Go out and talk to people about it, or how do you want to handle this between now and our June meeting?
I think if we meet, we definitely need to involve the city to see if they would like to jointly, maybe put up a public basketball court. And if they choose not to, then it'll just be, I guess, us and the park board.
Would you feel comfortable calling the mayor and asking him if he'd like to sit down and have a discussion? And we'd be open for a work session or whatever, I mean, you know, if that's right. All right, then.
A question about the liability, I mean, I can ask Suzanne, I don't know. To get around the liability, what if you petitioned off a particular piece of property and gave that property to all citizens of Lanier County?
All citizens in the
Would
county
that
own
work?
all the property, it's
It would?
titled in the county. All citizens already own all the property titled in Lanier County.
Somebody has to be responsible.
That's what I'm saying, I mean, you give ownership to every citizen of Lanier County.
Well,
That's county property.
Well, I know in Fayette County, but I mean, a different way. I mean, I'm just throwing out things here. I'm trying to get around the liability. You know, because I.
Everyone has in your folders a copy of the financial report for the end of April 30th, 2013. You also your sales spreadsheet behind that. At the end of the month for April, the general fund expenditures were at 79.57%. At the end of the 10th month of our budget year, they can be at 83.33 or less, and they'll still be in budget. So the general fund's under. Also, the sponge budget is at 68.97% of their expenditures, and also our revenue right now is at 91.21%. Any questions?
Any questions?
91, are you gonna have enough to make?
We usually get that at least for further in the year. We did get our, most of our property tax in February. We got most of it in that, we're pretty good bit.